What's up, everybody? If you can't tell, I'm trying something new today. I've been wanting to have Rashaad on as a guest, a podcast for a while now, and I figured, hey, let's do it. Why not do it live? So, welcome to the show, Rashaad. Oh yeah, I mean, dude, my face is already hurting because every time we hang out or talk, it's like just perma smile, and my cheeks can't handle it. See, already, it's just gonna be an hour and a half of me and you laughing. Doing this live, I'm kind of feeling it out, but here I think we'll do a section at the end where you guys can ask questions. While we go through it, you can chime in, and I'll like peek at things that you guys say and pop them up. But at the end, we'll do like a whole segment to answer you guys' questions. So what I like to do on the show is I like to start at the beginning, and I'm actually really excited to hear this because I like to get that, like all of my friends and artists and weirdos, like I like to know what they were like as a kid. So tell us what tiny baby Rashaad was like. Well, wherever you feel like is it pertinent to start. Awesome. Take us on a journey. Oh, wait. Oh, hang on, hang on. Oh, shit. Nobody can hear you? How is nobody Oh my God. Yeah, hold up. Uh, yeah, because Whew. Okay, say something.
Labba dabba ding dong.
Yeah, wow, damn. Okay. Thanks, guys. Man, that would have been a nightmare. Okay, now we got to kind of do like a restart because I had you muted. Holy shit. Okay, let's restart. Welcome to the show, Rashaad.
Thank you for having me.
And then, so that's just everybody can hear Rashaad now, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, there it is. All right, so um, let's just imagine you said, "Thanks for having me. It's great to be here," and all that jazz. um, so, take us back on that journey again with the story of Rashaad.
Yes. So my story starts from a very young age. Um, I don't remember doing this, but according to my mother, I would I don't know how I would take the screws out of the back of the toy and just to get to the batteries, just so I can chew on them. I don't know what that did for I don't know. I don't know what that did for me. That's probably why my hair is the way it is.
I feel like that explains a lot somehow. I'm not sure how, but
It does. I think that's why I just have all the energy that I do. I've been chewing on Duracells which is very dangerous because had any of those exploded, I would have serious like battery acid burns. But she said she would move the crib and there'd be like a mountain of batteries back there.
do, do you do you remember this at all? Was there any
Not at
like
all.
no? Wow.
I don't
Um,
remember it at all. It's I think I was too young.
I
Um,
I think my theory
and
on this. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that's where the ADHD came from.
Ah,
Was I was hyper, and I couldn't focus on one thing for too long. And that's where my love and my passion for art came from because that was the one thing that kept my focus.
chewing on batteries, right?
Well, no, art.
Oh, okay. So here's my theory on that because now I believe in reincarnation and things. So I'm thinking, and that's how you time travel is by reincarnating to bodies. So I think that you
No,
came from the future and you're like, I need power. I need power to save the world. I don't know why I need these batteries, but I got to chew on them.
I see my future brain knew what it needed, but the baby in me was just trying to play with the toys,
Yeah,
but the future me wouldn't let him.
when you time travel, it wipes your memory temporarily until you live enough to remember.
Oh my god, chewing on batteries was the way to do it.
You just see little Rashad like standing up like in Terminator, all naked, just. Duh, 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 duh.
I need Duраcells.
So, all right. So you had ADD, ADHD. I should look up the difference between those. But and art kept your interest. So you were into art right off the bat from as a kid. Can you remember when you first got into it, or what you like to do?
Anything that involved like crayons or cutting, gluing things to paper. I would make little dinosaurs, or I would take little pieces of aluminum foil and turn them into little figures and play with them. And that's how it started. It was from that early. From like, I remember being in daycare doing that kind of stuff, and that was all I wanted to do was art. If they couldn't get me to focus, they could sit me down with some crayons and I wouldn't move from that spot for hours. So
Nice. Did you like action figures as a kid?
um when I got a little older, yeah, I loved action figures. That was, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, and I know most of my friends, it was like making movies. That was like making movies with your little action figures, setting them up, and little explosions, and making little cardboard buildings and things like that. I did the whole works.
Yeah, that was me. Like I was all about like setting. I had these crazy epic storylines that would play out. And like for some reason, like the most important thing for when I was like perusing action figures for me as a kid, they had to be making a fist because they had to be able to throw a punch. If there was any other hand that wasn't a fist, I was like, nah, I can't get that one. I need these guys to be throwing punches. For some reason, that was like the deal breaker for me. There's this one time I was like so into production value that I had like it was the most epic finale scene at the castle top, and I actually had my brother come in and like gleek onto the scene for like rain because I needed, like I was like, this scene calls for rain. Jeremy, get in here and gleek on this scene. It's like so gross, but it's like I was that committed to fucking production value in my stories.
That's hilarious. My stories always started off with nothing but people, but then some giant animal or dinosaur would show up at the end and kill and eat everybody. Always how my movies ended for some a giant alligator, a giant shark, just something out of it. They could have been nowhere near water, but a giant shark showed up and was levitating around and eating everybody. Oh yeah.
So, all right. So you dug the art. Do you remember? Was there any particular like figures or themes that you'd like to do in your young art?
It was mainly dinosaurs, and Godzilla was probably, I think, the most. There may be some Ninja Turtles got in there somewhere because they weren't exactly humans. They were humanoid, but they were still like in the monster world in my head. But mainly just Godzilla, dinosaurs, and anything that wasn't human was my go-to. My mom sent me a picture not too long ago. I don't know when I drew this, but it was a picture of a house, a tree, and then for whatever reason, there's a whale like breaching right. there's no water. Just, in my mind, I guess that was the perfect house, just having a whale breaching right outside your window.
So I'm guessing that you're a huge fan of the cartoon show Street Sharks.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
They didn't need no fucking water.
Oh man, they didn't need any water. Just which now that you think about it, it's funny now that I think back to that, it's like, how exactly did that work? Like, how do they're destroying so much property. Like, how are they not getting in trouble? Like, they're causing so much damage to the city.
I mean, well, let's be realistic. If you saw a fucking shark man in denim and cowboy boots tearing up your streets, would you want to be the guy that's like, yo, shark dude, you need to chill on the fucking streets here? I know you're a street shark and shit, but motherfucker, I would go nowhere near those things, man. No way.
It's only a matter of time before that reaches like live action, because they're already talking about doing the Gargoyle script. They're talking about doing that. Oh yeah, which I would love to see, and I think they're going to get Keith David to do the voice of Goliath, which is going to be awesome.
Is it gonna be like
But
practical effects or some CG nightmare?
I don't know. That's why I'm always on the fence. Like a movie like that, you would have to find like a happy medium.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I I really don't mind them doing 50-50. Yeah. Oh, 1 second.
No worries.
Yeah. Right here. Yeah. Give it to mom. If they find a happy, the way they did Jurassic Park was perfect because you had 50% of the practical dinosaurs and 50% CG, and then they married the two. But for whatever reason, they are not. They're not getting that with new movies. Now it's just they just dump a bunch of CGI into it.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're watching a video game.
Like
so
the cats, like I think cats might be an interesting turning point, like a win for practical effects, because it flopped so hard that I think a lot of studios are gonna be like, man, you remember Cats? Okay, yep. Let's call the effects guys, the practical effects guys. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, I think right now is like is a mix of CG and practical, because there's some things you just can't do in practically, and there's nothing wrong with like a mix of the two. But it's always, if you could do it practically, me and you are definitely gonna push for that.
Oh yeah,
but
is it? I think all the time.
I think that slowly studios are getting that. That people want to see real things. It's also better for the actors too, because there's like something real for them to,
react to.
Yeah.
You put them in a green room and you tell them that there's something there. There's only so far that the imagination can go. I feel like actors are already using about 90 to 95% of their imagination by becoming a different person and believing that they are becoming a different person. And now you're asking them to use that last 5% to pretend that they're seeing a dinosaur is just not going to work. So,
yeah.
She's in the room now. She's recording? No, I'm recording.
Yeah, it's tough being an actor. Like, if you think about it, it's funny because like watch any movie and then just like realize that all of those people, like super serious fight scenes and all this, like all the badass characters and stuff, it's just a dude acting like a badass. He's not actually a badass.
If you go into any movie and think that, it just all falls apart for you, because now you're like, you're not really a cop. What are you doing? You're pretending. But again, that's like the beauty of it. When you can go into a movie and everybody you're looking at is an actor, but when you start to believe, when they can make you believe, and I think that's the hardest part now with filmmaking, is trying to make the audience believe again, because it's really hard in our day and age. We're in 2020. I did not think of this year at all. 2020 was never a year that I thought of, but we are here, and there's so much technological advances, especially in cinema, that it's just now they don't even need the actor. Now they could just CG somebody looking just like somebody, and I'm like, why do we even need people anymore? They're just it's going to become obsolete.
Oh man, when the days that robots start making movies, like, woof, it's going to be rough.
Hey, you took my car.
His performance was just so enthralled. I believed it, man. I really believed it.
So, did you see the way that robot broke down? It was so good.
So Bella Roche says, what are the best monsters you guys have seen in the past 2 or so years? You got any favorite monsters lately?
Yes. So, I don't know if this is in the 2 or so years.
Let's just say recently.
The creature from The Ritual.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see The Ritual?
Yeah, definitely. Which highly recommend that. It's on Netflix if you guys haven't seen it.
Yes, that was probably one of the most original things that I have ever seen. And really got like my juices going. I was like, oh man, I like that. That's different. I would have never thought to make something like that using those proportions, but it was really well done.
Yeah.
What else? I guess the Creatures from a Quiet Place.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
only because, I mean, as far as like body design goes, I feel like we get that a lot. You know, the elongated arms and the double jointed of the wrist, but the face and the way the head like came apart to make like what it used to like listen, that was like unique to me. I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I can't think of anything else. Oh, and that weird shark man from that new movie, Sweetheart. Did you see that
No.
on Netflix?
Mm-mm. I have to look it up.
So it's Neville designed it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's some weird like Sharkman hybrid thing. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
But other than that, I think everything else has just been like I don't want to say a copy and paste, but it's similar to something that we've seen before,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, I mean, the issue with movies and movie magic is that the more we develop and the more movies that get made, the more things that have been seen. So it gets harder and harder to do something that people haven't seen before, especially when everybody knows how you've done it. Like
Yeah.
there's, everybody knows it's like back in the day, man. Star Wars or The Thing, or it was like, holy shit, this is something. How the fuck did they do that? Nobody ever looks at the screen and goes, how the fuck did they do that anymore? You
Nope.
know, I think the
They don't.
last movie that made me say that was Mad Max Fury Road, and it was like all the stunts and just how they shot the whole film was like, how the fuck did they do that?
Oh yeah.
Like
I feel like well that's the thing as I I don't think that question comes up anymore when it pertains to, well, especially us being in the industry. You know, this is the stuff we do. You know, we've gotten the insider
yeah.
guide of how they do these things. So a lot of times when we're looking at these effects, we're like, oh, I know how they did that, and you know, we're replaying how we would do these things in our head. But a lot of times with like the stunts or like the fight choreography, that stuff always blows my mind. Like
Mm-hmm.
how these guys are able to move as fast as they do in these fights with these kicks and punches without actually hitting each other and really hurting each other.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my mind every time.
Yeah, oh man, I forget. There's a couple of the Tony Jaa films, like The Protector, when they do that all in one shot.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there are like insane amounts of stunts happening all in one shot, and it's like,
Yep.
man, that is like, yeah. Like I'll just do the sound effects for you. We were on that one.
Yeah.
So
Have
all
you
right.
seen
Well, go ahead.
have you seen The Raid
Yes, loved it.
and Raid Redemption?
Also loved that one too. Amazing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So good.
Those it's I just ask how every time I see it. It
I
makes
was
me like,
never necessarily terrified of someone attacking me with a knife until I watched the knife fight in The Raid. And it was just like,
yep.
oh my gosh, it's so visceral, so brutal. It's like, oh, yeah, if someone was attacking me with a knife, yeah, that's really scary.
Like I don't want to. The first cut would have made me surrender. But
Right?
I was like, how?
Now I just, honestly, like, I would be more apt to give up my wallet to a guy with a knife than a gun.
Like just don't cut me.
Yeah, just don't cut me, man. Like, okay, all right, dude, take it.
Oh man.
So we go
That's
from we got now what was like high school Rashaad like?
Well, high school Rashaad was, I think, right around this time. I was really big on. I've always been big on Godzilla, but this is when I started actually making things like full suits. This is when I was like probably at the height of my fabrication years. I was making whole creature suits with just like upholstery foam and hot glue. And then I was as ambitious as to think that I was going to do a Godzilla movie. So in my bedroom, I had a piece of wood that was about 8 foot long by, I want to say 8 by 4. Excuse me. And then I built a whole miniature Tokyo on that 8x4 board. And I had little street lights, and I had little cars and little billboards and a bunch of little other things that were there. And I bought like these little Godzilla figures that I was gonna do. It was gonna be stop motion. Some
Nice.
stop motion. I made like some puppets that were actually gonna function the way they did in the movies. And I made like these little miniature sets of like this hangar that had these ships in it, and with these, I used Christmas lights for all the actual light, like the lights in this place. It was pretty cool. But I never got around to doing it because I was like, oh, this is gonna take way too long.
Yeah.
I, I was like, I'm not built for stop motion. So that kind of just like fell apart. But I was really big on fabricating in high school. I didn't start sculpting until I want to say 2007 is when I actually bought like my first block of like air dry clay, and I was like, let me try to make some small figures. So that's when I actually started sculpting for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah.
So after high school, where do you go? What do you do?
After high school, I went down to Florida because I didn't know that there were any, I didn't know what the name of what I wanted to do was called. I think at that time, I knew that I liked making monsters, and I saw them in movies, but I didn't know what the actual job title was.
And
so
this
I
was
couldn't
what year?
find. This was 2000, and I graduated high school in 2006. So, like, the summertime of 2006 is when I
Okay.
was like looking for schools, because I didn't want to go to college. I was like, I don't want to go to college. I was done. 12 years of school was enough for me. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I don't want no more homework. I don't want
Yeah.
none of that. But my mom was like, listen, if you just take a look at some of the schools and see what you want. I couldn't find anything for what I wanted to do. And the closest thing that I figured would just get my foot in the door was Full Sail, which was a college down in Florida.
Okay.
And they had a computer animation program that had like some art. It was like infused with some actual hands-on art. So I was like, that's close enough. I'll try that. So I went down to Florida the summer. I think it was like August 2006, and then that's when I was like, well, I'll try the school thing and I'll see if it works. And when we started the school, they had like the introduction to the program that I was taking, but the majority of it was 2D. I guess they were trying to get people's heads wrapped around the way things work. Two-dimensionally, and then we went into like some sculpting 3-dimensionally, and then we took it into the computer. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. I was like sitting in class and I was like watching everybody. Like they taught us Photoshop, which I'm very happy that they did because I got to pick up some things. But I was like, this is not what I want to do. I was like, I don't want to be stuck behind a desk. I was like, I want to get my hands in the muck. I want to be touching the thing and painting the thing. So I signed myself out of school. I came back home and I just started making things and hoping that it would lead somewhere. And then, yeah.
How was that?
That's pretty much it.
That decision. So that's a pretty. And then a lot of what I do with this podcast is like I try to encourage people to like follow their path and follow their dreams and stuff. And man, was like that must have taken a lot of courage to just take yourself out of school. Like how were you? What was going through your mind?
I just wasn't happy. Like I was like, I saw the joy that people who actually wanted to be there had, and I didn't have that. I didn't have that joy, and that's kind of what kind of drove me from then on. Like even after that, I came back home and I realized that I had to work, so I started getting jobs, and even working at these odd and end jobs, I worked at Yankee Stadium. I worked at a warehouse. I worked at CVS. I worked a bunch of places that just at the end of the day, I was like, I don't want to be here. This is not, I don't want to be working for somebody else to make somebody else's dream come true, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what I want to be doing is making monsters and doing makeups and doing these things and sculpting and like everything that came with what I want to do. And I just basically had to work in order to make money to supply what I wanted to do. That was kind of what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing that for a while. And then it wasn't until about season 4 of Faceoff that what I did for season 4 was I sat down with a sketchbook, and whenever they would get a challenge, I would sketch out my concept for whatever that challenge was going to be. And then I would hit some clay. I pulled out some clay and I would start sculpting on this face form that I had. And I started doing that for a couple of the challenges, and I was like, I think I can do this. I was like, I don't understand why I wouldn't be able to do this. And I had already felt like, I think I had already practiced enough of what they were doing. The only thing I wasn't doing was like applying the actual prosthetics.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw on Facebook, they were like, we're auditioning for season 5 of Face Off. And I was like, well, I'm going to send in my audition. So I did like everybody, all of us did. I recorded a video, I sculpted a character, I glued it to my face, and then I sent them that video. And they were like, hey, we like your stuff. We're going to consider you for season 5. We'll be in touch. Then, you know, there was some emails sent back and forth. And then they sent me an email and they were like, hey, we already got season 5 cast up. We'd like you more for season 6, so we'll be in touch. And I was like, well, this is not happening. And at the time I wasn't working. So I was like, well, I got to get a job. So then I started working at White Castle, which was like the last of, it was that. And then if that didn't work, I was going to go to the Air Force. The Air Force was my last stop. And while I was working at White Castle, I got the call from John. But I had missed the call. So I went over to my supervisor and I was like, hey, I got this work call. I was like, it's really important. I was like, I need to call them back. So she let me go outside and call, and I called, and John was like, hey man, he's like, congratulations, you made it on season 6. You know, I had the tears. I shed a tear. I wanted to go back inside and throw my robe and be like, I quit. But, you know, I went back inside and I told my supervisor, I was like, hey, I'm just going to have to put in my 2 weeks notice now because I just got a really important work phone call and I've got to take this. So that's how I got on Faceoff.
Nice. Well, speaking of Faceoff, Tyler Green joined the chat on Facebook. He said, gosh, Rashaad talks way too much. Tyler, if you're still there, you gotta. I'm gonna hit you up because I'd like to have you on the show too. Just talking about your life, and well, Rashaad says no, so I guess never mind.
No.
So before we get into Face Off, I want to wrap up a few points. There is that it's important for people because sometimes if people go down a path, they feel like they get stuck down there, even though their dreams and their heart is telling them to go somewhere else. And it's important for people not to feel stuck because part of following your path and trying to figure it out is experimentation. You have to try things because anything that you try, you're going to learn something and you're going to take that knowledge with you to the next point to where you finally follow your dreams and your goals. So never feel like you're stuck somewhere because, like Rashaad said, he was trying so many different jobs and he didn't think that, the face-off thing was going to pan out, but he just knew in his heart that he wanted to be doing something that made him happy. And we all got to hold true to that, do what makes you happy because that's where you're going to find your purpose.
Yep.
So,
and that is the most fulfilling thing that you can do, I think, in life is to know that you're waking up and you're going to this place that you actually want to go to and you're doing this stuff that you actually want to do. I don't think there's anything better than that.
So what's your tips on helping to keep people positive And because it's tough, like sometimes you feel like you're just not, what you're trying to do is just not panning out. What's your advice to give people to like keep following their dreams?
Um, I would simply put is to just keep at it. Don't stop. Keep at it. I've moved around from place to place when we didn't have a home of our own, and I've made messes in people's kitchens and rooms because I still had that passion and that drive. And, you know, a lot of people, I hate when people say, oh, I used to do this or I used to do that, but then I stopped. You know, if you've got 5-10 minutes out of a day, you can sketch, you can keep drawing, you can keep sculpting, you know, and we live in a very technologically advanced era where there's everything available. They've got sculpting apps and drawing apps for the phone, for tablets. So you can always stay busy. You can always stay doing something, and just don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop and get enough. Michael Jackson said it best.
There you go. Man, why does quoting Michael Jackson feel so wrong now? We won't go down that road, but man, yeah, no, I can't agree more. You gotta just keep going and know that things are gonna work out for you because you're meant to do what makes you happy. That's the spell that we gotta break from the minds of people. That's how society has been controlled, is because our society is set up to make you feel like you got to be this worker drone, that all you're good for is just a cog in the machine and no creativity. Like They Live, man, it's seriously like, I think They Live is the most important film made in our time era. Where, have you seen They Live?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's all like you put on the glasses and you see just consume, just money is your god, you know,
Yep.
Don't trust humanity, embrace apathy. All of these messages is what society is trying to tell you. But what we're here to do is like what I do, like anything I do is like I'm trying to inspire people to do that themselves. Because the thing that I hate when I hear is like, man, I wish I could do that. And it's like, you can.
You can.
You absolutely can. You know? It's like, I think Bob Ross quote. It's like, talent is a pursued interest. So if you want to do something, you just have to spend your time doing it, you know?
Yeah. And people need to know that it is going to take some time. Like it's not gonna happen overnight. And I know we live in an era where that is possible. You know, you can order something online and get it the next day, or you can order food and get it quick. Like everything is quick. So I know a lot of people, they kind of give up on these careers and these because you can't do it quick, or they feel like they've been doing it for a while, but a while has only been like a year or 6 months, and they're like, well, I can't really get it. It's not happening for me. It's going to take a lot longer than that. Like I've been doing this since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where my love and my passion started. And it's just now, I'm 31 years old. It's just now I'm getting to the place that I want to be. So it's going to take some time. But if you love it and you want to do it, it's going to happen.
Yep. And I think if people feel lost, you know, again, like I believe in reincarnation. I think we know a lot more than we think we do when we're kids. So if you're lost and you're having trouble figuring out what your passion is or what you want to do with your life, what did you want to do when you were a kid? What was that thing that would make you happy? And follow that, and then reconnect with that, because as kids, like that's where you find your passion, your drive. It's like before the world has beat the imagination out of you. You know, like,
we're not talking about like, oh, I wanted to be a cop or I wanted to be an astronaut. What is the thing that you did or could do every day as a kid and not get bored of it?
Yep, absolutely.
You just wake up, and that's how I've had this. I've gone to like different colleges and I've spoken with the students, and that's like the one thing that I always either end with or I make sure that I say is, what is the one thing that you wake up in the morning and you can do and you won't get tired of it? You can wake up every day and do it. It's like that meal. It's like your favorite meal. The one meal you can eat for the rest of your life and not get tired of it. That's how, what your life career or what your working goal is, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
You know,
and
you have to want it as bad as you want to breathe and as bad as you want to eat.
Yep. And maybe it wasn't maybe it wasn't something that you do every day. Maybe it was something that you're really interested in. Like, I don't like a topic.
Mhm.
Like, was it dinosaurs? Was it this?
Oh yeah,
Like, how can you turn that into a career? Like, how can you sustain yourself from that? And then just make a
oh
plan
yeah,
and start working towards that. And the
yep,
universe, like that, they say fortune favors the bold. And it's because if you are putting your mind into making something happen, you
yeah,
subconsciously gravitate things to you, and the right people, places, and
yeah,
events start to gravitate towards you because your passion is so strong. You have to project that
yeah,
passion, and then the right things will find you.
yeah. I'm a big believer in like energies, and it was nothing that it wasn't something that I believed in before, but it wasn't until I started paying attention to my life and where it went and what mindset I had at that period of time and what energy I was putting out at that period of time. And basically, the law of attraction is real. Like, basically,
Yep.
what energies you put out there, that's what you're getting back. So if you tell yourself and you're saying every day, this is not going to happen for me, or I'm not going to do this, or whatever the case may be, it's like somebody who's waking up in the morning and they already have in their mind that they're going to be late to whatever this thing is, and they just keep saying it and they just keep dwelling on it, and eventually what happens, they're late to that thing because
Mm-hmm.
that's the mindset that they woke up with. So it's you gotta make sure that your energy and what your thoughts become things. I
Mm-hmm.
believe in that too.
Absolutely.
So you got to work on all those energies and focusing them in the right place.
And you have to look at every situation from like multiple perspectives, because you could look at anything that happens to you and you could take something positive away from it, or you could take something negative away from it. Say you
Oh
didn't get
yeah,
that job, you could be like, well, maybe that wasn't the job I was supposed to get because something better is coming along. Or you could be like, oh, I
yep,
didn't fucking get that job and now just fuck it all then, like it's just like it's the same situation that happened to you, but you could look at it completely two different ways. So this new age spiritual movement, I was just posting about this today, is that it's all about like love and light and positivity. But
mm-hmm.
see, that's the end goal of something that takes a lot of work. Like, my only
Mm-hmm.
problem with the new age spiritual movement is that they say, positive vibes only or love. And it's like, yes, that's your end goal, but also here's the way to do it. And it takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot of facing your demons. It takes a lot of facing your
Uh-huh.
fears. And it takes a lot of like encouraging yourself to overcome that before you can emit positivity all the time.
Yeah,
Because
yep,
and if you're just saying like, oh, positive all the time, bro, then it's like that even turns the idea of positivity becomes toxic to some people, is because
it does.
you have to understand that being positive all the time is work. it's not
Yeah,
it's not a just, hey man, flip your mood around. That's the idea. You can do this. We do have control of our emotions, and the more that you work, like I've been meditating and stuff, the more you meditate and get in tune with your mind, the
mm.
more you can flip that switch like an emotion, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. So you go, okay. So my first day of Faceoff was a fucking shit show nightmare of like, I was scared shitless, and so was everybody else. So tell us what your first day of Faceoff was like.
Like the actual first day of filming.
Yeah. Well, the
So
lead. I feel like the lead up into it is. Did they like have you secluded and all this stuff before you started? Yeah, take us through
yes,
that, because this is where it's like it's almost like you're in fucking prison or something. It's very strange.
it was a little because you couldn't say anything. The only people you could talk to were the people who were part of the crew,
Mm-hmm.
basically working for the show, and we couldn't say anything to our fellow contestants because they wanted our reactions to be genuine when we met each other on camera for the first time. So we were all like just kind of standing around and like looking at each other. And I know to some degree in the back of all of our minds, we're like, that's our competition, huh? Okay. That's okay. You look like you've been doing this for a really long. You look like you just got started, so I'm not worried about you. Uh,
And then they like only refer to us by our initials too, which is
yeah,
makes it even
our
more
best.
awkward.
It's like, what are we doing? Are you guys taking our souls? Are we like?
So on my first date, they packed us all into the van because we're about ready to go to
Oh
set. And again, nobody could talk to anybody. We're all nervous as shit. And then something was holding up, so they're like, "Okay, does anybody want to smoke?" And everybody's like, "Whoa!" We all just like jump out, and we're all just like, just like sucking down cigarettes and like freaking out, man, and like sizing everybody up. It's like, yeah. It's so funny. I saw George, and I was like, he saw me, and he's like, this fucking douchebag with this creature hat on, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, this fucking douchebag in his mohawk. It's like these like subconscious little like size ups that's going on, and then we become like best friends on the show.
Oh yeah, that's.
But
I
go ahead.
we found a way to conversate without conversating with each other. Is we had, I think we had Scott. Did you guys still have Scott?
No, I don't think so.
Oh well, he was like, you guys can't talk to each other. The rundown. So we all started talking with him, but we're all having. It was kind of like a conversation with each other, but we were like all talking with.
Yeah.
So we were using to converse with each other. Pretty cool.
Yeah, which it goes against like every social norm that you could possibly imagine. It's just like it's very strange. So did they let you like when you walked into the reveal? Like when was it that they let you actually like talk to each other?
So some of our first interactions were I don't know, we were in like that shopping mall, and they sent one person to go first, and then they would stop, and then like one more, 2, 3, until we got like 4 of us, and then they moved us from there into another room, and then they did some other introductions. And then right when we're all in that room, since we were already introduced to one another, then they didn't mind us talking because we had already spoken to each other. So
did they give you like a minute to be like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Nice to meet you, kind of thing?
Kind of. They gave us a couple minutes. Like we were actually there kind of talking and conversing for a little bit before they actually brought out Mackenzie for the first time.
See, they just sent us into the fucking church, and then we stand there, and then Mackenzie's like, we still couldn't talk to each other. The cameras are rolling, and then Mackenzie's like, none of you are actually on the show yet. Like we're like, wait, what?
Oh.
And then they're like, this is going to be a challenge to see who even makes it to the show. And then they're like, ready, go. And then we had no time to talk to each other, no nothing. And we're all running around like freaking the fuck out. And then like, still like, I have this like weird thing in my mind. Like, can I even talk to these people right now? Like, it was like, so I'm like sweating, and it was like, whew, that was one of like the toughest, like the anxiety was off the charts, man.
I can imagine. Like you think in my head, I would have been like, "Yes, I made it," and then that's the first thing that comes out of her mouth.
It's literally what she said, verbatim. and then she's all making a drag. It's like, this season, it's all about life or death, motherfuckers. like, oh shit, okay. And then after the first episode, they just dropped that whole theme.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. Said you try my patience.
So going through your season, how was it? What was your experience? What'd you like? What'd you hate?
The crazy thing is that I don't think there was only 2 times that I was actually nervous. I want to say 3 times. The very first challenge, I was nervous for about 5 minutes when we finished because I felt like I did so much running around and trying to get stuff together, and I didn't know how to feel about our character. I was happy that we got a cohesive character, but...
What challenge was this?
This was the Beauty and the Beast. This is our first challenge.
Okay, gotcha. Did you have to do 2 makeups or something?
No, it was just one.
Oh, right. Okay.
We had to do basically a beast. They gave us a beauty. We had to make a
Right.
beast. They gave us like a picture of what the castle looked like.
Gotcha.
And I think the way you look at your makeup versus the way everybody else does is two different things. Like, I remember looking at my makeup after every challenge and thinking in my head, like, did I do enough? Like, was this going to be enough?
Mm-hmm.
But I was never nervous saying that. I was nervous the first challenge. Then I was nervous the challenge where I almost went home when I was on the bottom with Corinne, which was the Mad Scientist challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was nervous again for the finale. I think the finale was the most nervous I've ever been. Like, that's the loudest you ever hear your heart, I
Oh,
think.
dude,
I think
yeah.
that's the loudest I've ever heard my heart.
I'm right there
And
with you.
then I couldn't even look at Glenn because they did that thing, as I tell people all the time. You guys got the break for the commercial. They did the same thing to us.
Yep.
They
It was the longest fucking pause in the history of pauses. Like, I could see on season 7, I could see the teleprompter, and it's like, and Glenn says the winner of Faceoff is, and then it has these giant like pause in parentheses, and I'm just like, and yeah, all you hear is like ba boom, ba boom, ba boom.
Oh, yeah. For us, he did it twice.
Oh, really?
Because I don't know if they had to readjust or have him say it a different way, but he did the whole, like, I could see the teleprompter, the winner of Face Off is 3 dots, pause, and he did the thing where he's like,
that's the thing. That is the exact thing.
And he's looking, he's like making eye contact with everybody.
I know.
And
I know.
I couldn't look at him. I looked down. I couldn't look at him because it was too much. It was way too much for me.
Yeah.
And then he did it again. You know, he spoke to his earpiece. He was like, all right, okay. All right. And the winner of Face Off is. And then it's like, boom, 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 boom. A long pause. I was like, I'm going home. And I'm going to cry like a little bitch. I don't even. And when he said my name, I just couldn't. I felt like my soul left and came right back in like instantly because I had already pegged myself from winning. And like I said, when you see your own makeups versus everybody else's, in my head, my makeups weren't like to par with theirs. And the only time when I felt like it was only in the coloration. Like, I felt like the coloration that we did on our finale makeups were in stark contrast to what the other teams did. So I was like, well, maybe, but I was like, this is the one side of our female, her face is all jacked up. And I was like, they're not going to let that slide. They're going to be like, get out of here, kid. So thinking all that, having all that going in your head, and I dropped Flex Foam on my arm.
Oh, no.
It like burned my arm and it was like stuck there for a while.
Oh, no.
And yeah, it was great. When you think back on Face Off, when you were there, it seemed like it was forever. But now that we're on this side, it just seemed like it went by so quickly. Like, we didn't really. I was telling people, like, we had down days. Like, we had days where we weren't working and we were just kind of hanging out in the cast house. But I was like, even on our down days, we're talking about what we're going to do for our makeup or how we're going to fix that thing that we messed up last challenge. Or, you know, Glenn told me to watch my fabrication versus prosthetic. Like, they know I'm a fabricator, but this is really about makeup. So how am I, like, you're always thinking about what the next challenge is and how you're going to do. So even though we did have downtime, there wasn't really any downtime. So yeah, Face Off was definitely a roller coaster of awesomeness.
Yeah, dude. It was like a dualistic nightmare and dream come true. Man, I had to go through that twice too. The finale twice. I know. Oh my god! Like the first time, season 7, which you were there, which was awesome. I was standing there and they Glenn announced the winner was Dina, and like, oh my god, like, and then these pyro hits go off, but like one of them didn't go off. So then they had us like reset.
To do it again.
So I had to look like I wasn't about to cry and shit my pants and crawl into a ball on the stage, and then act surprised again when Dina won. And then the pyro hit didn't go off again. And then they were going to do it a third time. And I'm just like, oh my, I haven't seen my mom in 6 years. They flew her out there to see me just like fail on the stage. And all of this is going through my head. And I have to like relive this like 2 more times. And I'm like, man, I just want to get off this fucking stage, go home and like cry. It's just like, it's rough. But man, seeing you like when they surprised us with you guys, because I was a big fan of the show before I went on the show, and you were my favorite, and I was just like standing there. I was like, oh my god, please pair me with Rashaad, please pair me with Rashaad, please. And then we got paired up, and it was awesome. And dude, we had like so much fun. We immediately just like hit it off, and like I said, like my cheeks are starting to hurt already because it's just like it's nothing but smiles when we hang out, and I love it.
The one thing that I think about all the time that I take from that was when it was me, you, and Race sitting in a pitch black room, making up different endings to the Folgers commercial theme song, and it's like, and I think Race was so tired he just wanted to go to bed, but we just kept the song going, and it was his turn to come up with that last part, and I was like, the best part of waking up, and Race stayed quiet for a while, and then he was like, a Scooby-Dooby dog.
Is like, for those of you at home, you don't understand that, like, we're having like, this is like 3 months of seclusion. Cabin fever has set in at this point. And to the point where we have no phones, we have no TV. We just have, let's rewrite the slogans of fucking TV shows. So that was like the funniest shit ever. Oh my god, we came up with like Kung Fu Frisbee. You remember that? So there was a little fun period towards the end where when they introduced Rashaad and Nicole and Race, they got to stay with us in the cast house for a little bit, and we were so bored. And then we were just like made up these games where we'd throw a frisbee, and then we just like fucking like do a kung fu move and throw the frisbee, and it was like, wait, and you remember drop it in my mouth?
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh, something happened with your mic.
Hello?
Oh, you sound like you're in a funnel now. Try talking.
Hello?
Oh no, why is it doing that? Did you touch a button?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I guess, well, now it just sounds like you're on the telephone. Maybe, hopefully it'll fix itself.
Hello? I think, you don't remember, like, the supersonic ping pong balls to the back?
Yeah. Maybe we should call you back, because this, yeah, it's like, it's weird. Oh, wait.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, all right, I'll call you right back.
All right. Hello?
There we go, that's way better. All right, so ping pong balls, yes, what?
Remember the supersonic ping pong balls to the back?
Yes.
Throwing them at like lightning speed?
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, I actually forgot about that. Yeah, we're so bored that apparently it was just, let's see, you stand there and you just let somebody throw a ping pong ball at your back as hard as they can. Like, everybody was on board, too. Like, we were so losing our fucking minds. They were like, yeah, sure, that sounds like a good idea. I don't know. Like, please get me the fuck out of here.
Then we played Scrabble, but we were making up words. That was probably one of the funniest the funniest games of Scrabble I have ever played in my life.
Oh, that was
Just making
great.
up words.
Yeah, man, I forgot all about that. What did we call it? Like, didn't we come up with a name for it too? Because we come
It
up
was
with a funny word, and we're like, that's what we're calling it.
yeah, every word, we're like, that's the name of the game.
Hey, thanks for that follow, Thatcher.
Man. But yeah.
And, so I should explain what "drop it in my mouth" is, because if we left that one hanging, it'd be like, you guys are bored.
Like, wait, what was that part?
Can we roll back the tape a little bit? Did he say "drop it in my mouth"? Yes, I did. In fact, so there was this balcony in the house, and the idea is you lay on the floor, and then you just let somebody drop popcorn or some kind of candy, and you try to catch it in your mouth. This is what grown-ass adults do when they are bored out of their minds. I think we got close to finishing a couple games of Monopoly, which when the fuck have you ever finished a game of Monopoly? It's
never
unheard of.
In my life have I ever finished Monopoly.
Yeah, you just go until like, guys, okay, I don't care anymore. Here's my money.
Can we do something else? This is starting to get boring. That's why whenever people mention Monopoly now, I just leave. I don't even want to be a part of that. I'd much rather lay on the sidewalk when it's raining.
Zombie says, this sounds like a 4 a.m. at every sleepover I've ever been to. And I can't, I think just hanging out with Rashaad is like a 4 a.m. sleepover, like permanently living that hour of the sleepover.
Oh man, I don't know what it was like working with Cig for the first time. I didn't know who he was. He knew who I was, but I didn't know who Cig was.
That's
so
right. Yeah, let's get the scoop on like what was Rashaad's first I think I had the creature hat on too.
You did.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I was more so. It was when they asked me to come back. I was really excited. I was like, hell yeah, I get to play around some more. And I just didn't know who they were going to pair me with. And when I got paired with you, I was like, awesome, this guy looks like he's fun. And when I think what excited me was your excitement for getting me.
Okay.
You did like you did the yes, and I was like, okay, this guy, he knows
like
my work, and I think that's
precedes me. I see.
So I think when we actually got to sit down and start sketching, that's when I got, a little peek inside your head and like your mind and like what ideas you had and where we were coming from. And I think we spent, because we got introduced on the episode and then we went back to the Kaz house. So we got to hang out at the Kaz house and not talk about like the challenge. Because everybody was excited that everybody else was back. Race and Nicole was back. And, we were kind of all talking about that and having fun with that. And then, you were like, after the day had settled down, you put on like your director hat. You were like, yeah, okay, well, okay, so now tomorrow, you got all the fun stuff out of the way. Then it was a director saying, you were like, tomorrow, here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I want to do. And then when we got to the actual challenge and, you were like dividing what the work was going to be. I think we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of laughing and, off time, but
pleasure first.
Yeah, I think I made a really good. Yeah.
That's how I roll.
And then every meeting again after that, coming down, like every time I go down to Monsterpalooza, for those of you who don't know, I stay at Cig's house because we just have a blast. Like he said, our face, I think our cheeks are just 2 sizes bigger.
Like Grinch cheeks. We broke the fucking frame. It's like like curling up. That's what my face feels like every time I see you.
we just come up with sometimes it's the stupidest thing, or we'll go back down memory.
Yeah, we'll wrap up Faceoff and then we'll move on to like post Faceoff. But yeah, like working with you, like I was so stoked, and like I remember, because at the time like I couldn't draw very well, Like I've since practiced. And like I have this like chicken scratch, and Michael Westmore comes in and is like, "So what's your idea?" And I'm like, I look at my sketch, and then I look at your fucking like fully rendered, full color like rendering of the thing, and I'm like, "Shit, he's so much better at drawing than me." And it's good too, but it's supposed to be my idea. But and then I just like I don't even show him mine. I just show him your idea. I'm like, this. And you know, the thing is, I look back on this all the time, is that you were totally right. We should have went creaturey with the guy. I love what we did. Here's the thing. Like, I love what we did, and I wouldn't change a thing. But you were totally right. Should have went creaturey with the guy. My thought was, like, we'll show a creature, and then we'll show realistic practical effects, because those are actually really hard to do in real life as well. And I thought we'd show, like, you know, both things. But Faceoff, it's all about flashy, big, crazy. You know, you got to swing for the fences on it. But I love what we did, and I love the designs. But yeah,
they were awesome.
We should have pushed that guy into creature. So you were right.
There it is. You heard him say it, people. Yeah. That's it. That's all I wanted to hear. Guys, but see, I'm heading out.
After all these years, that's all you wanted to hear me say. That's all. And then you just hang up and never talk to me ever again. I'm like, wait, Rashaad?
Like, Rashaad, hello?
But I'm glad I didn't listen, because that means I got to go back to the All-Star season and got to do it all over again.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
And I learned a lot.
That must have been.
Yeah, that was.
Well, the funny thing is, they contacted me 2 more times after season 7 about coming back, potentially coming back. And I remember one of the last, because I think they wanted to do like an All Stars or like a Champions or whatever they called it. And I remember getting that phone call from John the last time, and he was like, "Hey," he goes, "we're thinking about doing another season. Would you be willing to come back?" And I was like, "John, you know my answer." I was like, "You don't even have to call me. Just let me know when I need to be."
Just standing there with a suitcase, just. I've been waiting. You've just been staring at the wall for like until that call.
It's like a dog waiting for their owner to come home, just sitting in front of the door,
right?
With my suitcase. But
you just pick up the phone. You son of a bitch, I'm in. Hang up.
I haven't heard from you for 10 years. I'm in.
You have a beard. It's giant, like beard.
It's just a long beard. Yeah. I've got flies on my head.
Oh.
But he said, he was like, yeah. He goes. I knew you'd say that. He goes, but a lot of the other people that I'm contacting, they're like, I guess all the other champions were saying no.
Wow, dude! If they would call me, I would have been like, fuck yeah, dude. Let's do it.
I don't know why. I was like, just, and I think it's a lot of the other face-off champions. Just, I think they felt like, as far as like the pay was concerned, I don't think it was enough to get them to stop whatever they were doing to go back to face-off, which I get. You got bills and you got to pay them. But I was like, I will go back any time of day they want to bring me back. And then Game Face was really fun too. Then we got to hang out.
That's right. We did get to Game Face. Yeah.
Yes, we did. We did.
The first to go, man. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I don't remember that thing that happened.
There for an hour.
It's like, hey, see ya.
But at least you lived in LA. You lived in LA, so
That's
you
true.
Probably just drove back home.
I did actually. I went to the hotel and I drove home. That was the end of that. I really wanted to get to the end with you. That would have been so much fun. But I
wanted to get to the end too, but I didn't get to the end because they thought my makeup was. That was actually one of my. Out of a lot of the makeups that I did, that Jen makeup that I did was like my favorite. I love everything about that makeup.
Yeah.
Like
I remember really liking it too. Like, I forget what it looks like now, but I remembered liking it. And I was like, man, I don't know. I don't understand how you didn't move forward. But
We could sit here and pick apart a lot of
That's
things.
true, but
But,
or we
but
could again look at it positive. You gotta follow my own advice, and it's true. Like it's you're laughing at me. It's tough sometimes, man. Like, and that's something like I wanna. Yeah, we could cover it. So, all right, we're gonna jump into the fun, all of our hangouts, crazy party stories in a second. But I want to talk about
mm,
something that like kind of doesn't really get mentioned, and I didn't even realize it happened to me. But after actually, even after I won, I came back and I kind of had like some PTSD from the whole experience. It was just like something about being secluded for that long with no access to your family, and then the emotional ups and downs that you go through during the
mm.
show, sort of just like manifested in ways in me that I didn't realize. I started drinking heavily after season, like even the season that I won. It was weird. I started like spiraling. I don't know. It just kind of it threw me off mentally. But did you have any? Even though you won, did you have any like? Was it weird to reacclimate, or did you have any like sort of PTSD that stemmed from that you can recall?
No, I didn't have PTSD. What I did have was like since they had us on such a rigorous schedule, I had that yearning to want to do stuff. Like you come back home and there wasn't that call for work.
Uh-huh.
There wasn't that let's go, let's do this, let's do, and I still had that, and I still had that want. So I turned like the first house that we moved into, we had like a little section that was uh we weren't going to do anything with it. So I kind of turned that into like a little mini studio. I remember buying like the first table, getting 2 boxes of wet clay, and just like going to town on this predator that I wanted to do because I needed that artistic outlet that I didn't have before Faceoff.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the extent for me. It was
Yeah.
like, what am I going to do now? Like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do now? I
Yeah.
got to make some shit.
It's a real like abrupt change in pace, man, because it's like we're doing this like if you guys don't know, every 3 days basically is a challenge. So every episode that you see, and then maybe you'll get a break in between, or maybe you'll go right to the next one. So it's like 3 months of this brutal schedule of back to back. It's like like you're getting juiced creatively, you're getting stressed out, like all of this like, and then you're like have euphoric moments. It's like this crazy roller coaster, and then all of a sudden it's over and you're like back in the real world and you're like fuck, what do we like? They actually have like a therapist follow up with you afterwards to check in on you, because like it is like a crazy emotional weird experience. But after the show, every time we see each other, it's a fucking hoot, man. Like yeah, he stays with us for Monster Palooza. Do you remember that night that you these are back in like heavy party days. There was epic face-off parties of like the group coming together. There was a night that you like wrote out this whole plan on this marker board, and you don't even remember what it was. It was like Johnny at the docks at midnight. Follow the white rabbit, and there's all these numbers, and like I took a picture of it too. Actually, maybe I'll like when I re-edit this episode, I'll put it right here so you can see this like strange plan that you laid out.
I do not remember writing that. I do remember you telling and sending me a picture of it and us just like cracking up at it, because even when I went to your house the last Monster Palooza, he still had it. It's still up on the board. So I went there and I'm staring at it, and I don't know what. I don't even remember writing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I must have been on it, man. I must have been. My detective side came out. I was trying to figure something out.
So Gillimack says, so the impression is that once you win, the offers come flooding in for jobs. How did that, anything for you?
I do say that I've gotten more work because of people seeing what I did on Face Off.
Yeah.
But as far as like job placement, no. It's pretty much like, I don't want to say wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, but once you're done with the show, that's pretty much it.
Yep,
You're just back to your life and back to what you were doing before Face Off.
And it's up to you to run with the clout that you generate from the show.
Oh yeah.
Like my main goal on going on the show was to bring attention to what I was already doing. So I had a plan afterwards. I was going to keep trying to stay in the public eye and keep using that cloud as a springboard. And yeah, so I got a lot of convention offers, and for a while I, did conventions and stuff. But the special effects industry actually kind of frowns on Faceoff, like the actual like Hollywood industry, because it creates unrealistic timelines, which I understand. It does. But and then I guess that some people come off the Face-Off show and they think they know everything, and I guess there's been some people that try to get work and they don't really know what they're doing and things like that. So there was like some weird stigma that got created about it, but like all in all, it is what it is. It's now people know they actually know what special effects artists do. That was never a thing before.
Yep, and that's why I tell people all the time. I love Face-Off. Definitely put my name out there and got people to see what I was, like Cig said, already doing. And it generated a love for or an interest in people either wanting to do it now because, you inspired somebody to want to do what you did, or it got somebody saying they wanted to own something that you created with your hands. And like I said, Face-Off was one of those things where I've gotten a lot of work in the past where people are like, hey, man, we saw what you did on Face-Off. Would you be interested in making a monster for us? Mm-hmm. And the answer was always, fuck yes.
Yes. Yeah, not even a yes. It was a fuck yes.
It was a fuck yes.
If we're making monsters, we're happy.
Oh, yeah.
So, man, can you think of any specific ridiculous post-Face-Off party stories?
Oh, several.
So they're all a blur for me. A drunken blur.
So I don't remember this happening, but I do remember the questioning afterward. Somebody at one of these crazy parties tried to make a Molotov cocktail
you're right.
in one of Cig's bathrooms. Yeah. Now, I can understand prior to this, I had jumped over their pool, did a lot of silly things around the house. So I can understand why I was the prime suspect. But it was like a beer can with I don't know what was sticking out of it.
Well, yeah, it was a beer bottle and there was nothing in it. And it was just a paper towel that was obviously lit on fire, but there was no liquid in it. So it's I don't know if someone was like, have you guys ever seen what a Molotov cocktail looks like? I don't know what.
And I remember it's always a weird thing when you have to go dad mode with somebody. I know I get weird. So I tell Cig's whole demeanor changed because he was trying to go more. Our relationship is purely love and comical, but he had to go almost dad mode and get serious because that's a serious thing. You trying to light my fucking house on fire? I remember the conversation, and he's like, "Hey, we trying to make a Molotov cocktail in our bathroom," and I was like, "What?" He touched it. It was still on the windowsill of the bathroom. He's like, "Yeah."
The whole situation felt like you were my teenage son, and I found weed in a tube sock in your room, and I was just like, Rashaad, come here, because we gotta talk about this, buddy. Oh my God! There was this time where one of the most recent times you came out, maybe the last time, we filmed an entire trailer for a fake movie. And I don't remember any of it. I still have all the footage. I got to put it together. You actually, if you guys watch my Twitch stream, it's you see the scene where I got the Dallas and Rodeo where where the pop guns. That was a scene from that, and I don't remember any of that at all.
So my favorite scene of it all is Cig's in the car and he pulls up in front of his house and slams on the brake, and I'm running across the street with a gun, and I jump and slide across the hood But when it goes to like inside the car and it shows me sliding across the hood, all of a sudden I've got like a beer in my hand and I'm like sipping this beer as I'm sliding across. And oh man, it was probably one of the silliest things we've ever filmed. And I'm still waiting for him to edit the footage together.
Yeah, well, this is my call to do it. So if you guys are watching on the YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast version, you could check out this video on the youtube.com/rancig, and I would just have edited that footage over us describing it because, and then we had Ranny playing Commissioner Plum. She was like the fucking like something about like. Go ahead.
I put a B in it.
Oh yeah, Plumb. Commissioner Plumb, and she had this like curly wig and a mustache, and then she's like, she was like the gruff chief of police.
Oh goodness, I can't wait.
Grab life by the plums.
We've got so many good memories and so much fun. I remember the first time. I remember the very first. Wait, was it the first one? Which ones did the cops come over and shut down because of your next door neighbor?
Probably the very first like crazy. Yeah, Faceoff party.
So, out of everybody, who is that? Elijah, is that you making that noise? Sorry, my son is in the swing over there. But out of everybody at the party, they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, man, what you doing here?" I was like. I'm enjoying the party.
And I'm pretty sure that people were naked and in the pool, and I was in my underwear.
Oh man! So then I think it probably. I don't know if it was that time or another time, but I fell asleep on your couch, the white leather one that you have, and somebody drew something on my face. I can't remember what it was. Somebody drew something with permanent marker on my face. And then they've got a picture of it. Good time. Good time.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was some good times. So what have you been doing post Face-Off then?
So I've been working on, I think my first big thing that I was like, hell yeah, was I got to do a werewolf. I had to do a full werewolf in 10 days. You know what it's like.
Yeah. Werewolf, out of all the creatures that you want to do, a werewolf is not one that you want to do in 10 days. Yeah, they're tough.
So I got to do a werewolf for a music video. It's called Get Some by Ghosted. And that was actually a lot of fun. Just being able to, I was like, out of all the creatures that I love, I got to do like a full werewolf for this thing. And that turned out to be awesome. And then those same people just kind of kept contacting me to make the things. So since then, I've got to make like a 7'7" tall Dolphin Man suit, creature suit. I worked on an independent Batman film where I got to do a Joker prosthetic, a Two-Face prosthetic. I got to make Nightmare Batman. Like there's been like these smaller projects that came along, but I'm like really into the replica world now because that's what's been keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
The movies is awesome, but the replica world, I found that if you can get into that, it's been very, very lucrative.
Nice. And where can people pick up your replicas at?
Well, I've got an Etsy page.
Oh.
If you go to either my Facebook or my Instagram, it's probably reversed for you.
No, but it's the right way. Yeah.
Oh, it's correct? Oh, yeah. It's reversed for me. You just go to Rashaad Santiago, Facebook, Instagram, and I have my Etsy link on both of them. Or if you want to order something custom like people do all the time, you can do that as well. But I got to direct my first feature film back in 2016.
Yeah.
Entitled Beast of the Water. It's on Hulu, streaming on
it's
Amazon.
Out now?
Yeah, it's out. It's on Hulu and Amazon.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you can watch it right now. Beast of the Water.
Wait, was it called something else when you showed it to me?
Enuati. It was
Okay.
Enuati when I first started. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um, and then when we went with the distribution company, they were like, let's call it Beast of the Water because alphabetically B is gonna come before the E in Enuati. So I was like, what? Call it whatever you want, just as long as it's out
So Beast
there.
of the Water, you said?
Beast of the Water, yes,
And it
sir.
is on
So
Hulu?
it's on Hulu. You can watch it right now on Hulu. It's streaming on Amazon, and you can find it on uh, the Target website
Nice.
and Redbox.
I yeah, no worries. Yeah, I recommend it to everybody as well. It has a really fun like Predator feel to it. You know, like badasses in a jungle. Oh goodness.
I got the little
Oh, so tiny.
you to be a part of the
Oh
podcast.
my gosh. Too much. Oh, so
The Cray
cute.
Cray adore is too much. Yeah, this little junior, he was over there whining. You smell good. You smell good, miss.
Oh, so if
Yeah.
you guys are watching on the Facebook right now, Rick Prince is up in the thing, and he just posted the link. Thanks, Rick. What's up, buddy?
Rick. Yeah, so Rick actually helped me because I had did a Kickstarter for Enuati, and that didn't go through. And Rick contacted me. He was like, "Hey, man," he was working with some these wonderful people, Pam and Foster, who had the financial backing, and they were helping him with his movie. And he was like, "Hey, if you want to wait a year until mine is done, I can introduce you to them, and you basically have to pitch your story, and if they like it, they'll help you make it, and that'd be good." So I don't understand why it's like such a hard concept to understand that, like, no playing in the kitchen when I'm in here. But it's so simple. But he was like, he did it twice before, and then now he's like, well, I could do it again because I got away with it.
He's got Molotov cocktails in the background.
Yeah, he's like, wow, like typing. Oh my goodness. But yeah, we took about 6 months after that initial meeting to get a script and get it finalized and actually get to filming. I think my favorite part was actually watching the monster come to life because I came up with the idea of the Enuati back when I was like 18. So it took about 12 years. Yeah, it took 12 years from start when I first came up with the concept to actually get to the point where I was actually making it, and then seeing the monster come to life on this huge 7'7" tall actor, David Gilchrist, was amazing. It was probably one of the best feelings ever. And then to be on set and to see it like in the rain and tearing people's arms off, it is a great feeling.
Yeah.
And that's why I got in the business. And I think that that's where I've always wanted to be, was watching these movies as a kid and saying like, man, I want to make something like that. Or I believe that I can do something like that. And then actually getting to do it. It's like, I was like, I'm on cloud nine. Like,
yeah.
The only thing left to do now, I think, is to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger and to even if I get to put like 2 little scales on the foot of a dinosaur that's going to be in a Jurassic Park movie, I'm happy.
Nice.
That's it. Those are the 2 things that are left.
And Rick commented, "Pay it forward," and that's the important point. Is that because, like we said earlier, it's like you got to follow your dreams, and when you when you follow that, and like I said, you attract the people and events that can make that happen for you. And as artists, and it's all like, you know, Rick offered the solution to helping you get something made. And as artists, we got to come together and we got to help each other get these things made. Because if you're an artist and you just want to create something, like, you know, none of us like really focus. None of us really want money. We want what money represents, and it's freedom. And we want the freedom to do what we want and create. So if you within your little artistic circles and stuff, always look for ways to collaborate and help other artists, because like it's really important that we all come together as creatives to create.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things for me coming up wanting to do this, is I didn't have anybody to reach out to question, or at least I didn't know anybody who I could reach out to and question. So I had to learn a lot of this stuff on my own, basically watching the behind the scenes features for movies and writing down little notes and just trying to absorb as much as I could from what the actual artists were saying themselves. But now we live in a world where everything is accessible. Everyone is accessible, where you could just send a message or comment on a video and ask, hey, and YouTube, they've got everything on YouTube, the do-it-yourself videos of how to do things. And there's so much information out there. And I get people telling me all the time, they're like, we didn't think that you would be this helpful as far as like giving out information, because that's how, you know, in generations past, that's how things get done. You know, you tell a story to preserve the culture, and us as an artist culture, that's what we have to do. We have to pass along this information to make sure that it gets preserved, and the information that we know makes it to the next generation. So
yeah, absolutely. And so
absolutely.
to add to that, so now's a good time to, if you're watching on the Facebook or if you're watching on Twitch, ask us some questions. Anything you ever wanted to ask Rashaad, anything you ever wanted to ask me, anything you wanted to ask both of us, go ahead and shoot, and we'll round this episode out with a little Q&A. But we can keep talking until the questions come in. But
Okay.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like people are like, oh, aren't you scared that people are going to steal your ideas and stuff? And it's like, you know, like style is something that can't be like learned or imitated. Like I have my style, and the techniques I am more than happy to share and spread knowledge to inspire others to create, because that's all I really want, is for this world to just be magical and for people to be inspired and for people to do what they love, you know? So, you know, we're always, I think most artists that you find are apt to help in any ways they can and share tips, and, you know, because it's tough. It's a hard path to take, but you know, I can't imagine myself doing anything else.
Oh yeah, there are times, and I tell people all the time, don't, in my own words, don't get it twisted. There are days where I don't even want to look at clay or a pencil or my shop, and I'll take 3 days off to just recoup, because for something that you are doing every day, every single day, there are times when you have to put the pencil down and kind of regain that creativity and get those juices flowing, because like Cig said, we're doing it every day. And as you know, being people who are self-employed, that check at the end of the week is not guaranteed. So you have to work sometimes twice, 3 times harder to make sure that you're got all your avenues covered, and you know you are going to be able to keep the lights on this month or whatever the case may be. But there's times when I don't even want to see anything that has to do with art, because sometimes I get frustrated, especially when you're this close to whatever you're working on all the time. It's like sometimes you got to take a step back and relax from it. I know my brain now doesn't work how my younger brain works or worked. And it's so weird. There's times when I have to make something, and my younger brain would have been like, okay, I could take these 3 things, put it together. But now that I've used the products that make our jobs easier for so long, to go back to like my fabricating brain, sometimes it doesn't work. And I'm like, how the hell did I do that when I was like 18 years old? It's so weird.
Yeah, it's an interesting problem we run into as artists too, is we're making our passion a job. And sometimes your passion can feel like a job. And even though you're getting to do what you love to pay the bills, it sort of puts you in a strange position sometimes of losing your passion for your passion, you know? And you always have to, that's why you have to like decompress and take breaks. And Gillimax asks, when you step away, what do you do to decompress? How do you recharge your batteries? Do you just chew on batteries? You know?
I sell some Duracells. No, I actually have for those of you who know me, I do several other things. So music is actually something that I love. I play the piano. I have Fruity Loops, which is a music making software, which music sometimes is my escape. I love fishing. Um, I have like my own fishing Instagram that I post all my fishing stuff on. So fishing is definitely a way for me to like throughout the summer last year, I was waking up early, putting the kids on the bus. As soon as the kids were on the bus, I was shooting out to the water and I would fish for like 2 hours and then I would go to work. And that was like the most, I don't know, I want to say that was probably the best time for me because I was able to do two things that I loved the most that had nothing to do with each other in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And fishing just kind of helped. If I didn't fish before I went to work, then I was thinking about fishing and it wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
So fishing before I went to work got fishing out of the way, but then it also put me in a good mindset to want to go to work and get everything that I had done. So fishing, music, and just relaxing, just being at home, relaxing with the family, watching movies and being lazy. Like people underestimate the power of being lazy.
Yeah, it's an ebb and a flow. And I'll throw it out again. If anybody else has any questions, we're doing like the AMA to end up here. So ask away if you got something. Yeah, and fishing too, it puts you out in the element of nature. And I'm fine this year. I'm realizing how important that is to spend some time in nature, recharge. Like you're around the water, you know, you're interacting with the wildlife. It's really important.
Oh yeah. And that's where most of my inspiration comes from.
Definitely. Yeah, it's almost like a meditative thing. Fishing, I can imagine.
Oh, yeah. Very therapeutic.
Megan asked, have we worked together yet on anything, big or movies, etc.? Well, I mean, you could say that we made a movie trailer that we don't remember making. At least I don't remember making. There's so much footage that I'm like, oh my god, and like we just came up with a script like as we were shooting it.
Yeah, we kept coming up with scenes like on the fly, like the showing up at Rodeo's house, and he's just like so many beer cans and things leading up to him, and just silly stuff. And I think that if me and Cig lived closer together, we would have like movies. We would come up with like different creatures. We would have like probably the most content that anybody has ever had ever because of how our minds work and how our brains work and all the stuff that we're always doing. Oh, you
yeah, you get it. You got to get rolling.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that was good. I mean, that was a perfect way to wrap it up. So let everybody know where they can find you. I think Rick is Hanging On Anglin'. Is that your YouTube channel for fishing?
Yes.
Cool. And
yep.
Then,
it's my YouTube. It's my YouTube and my Instagram one. It's just at Hanging On Anglin'.
Cool. And then where can everybody find you online and all that stuff?
You want to find me on Facebook? Again, it's just at Rashaad Santiago. It's RASHAAD. Santiago, SANTIAGO. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I think I have an Imgur. You just put Rashaad Santiago on Google and all my stuff will come up.
Cool.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for any custom-made props or anything, or hit him up. Replica.
Yes.
Anything. You do creatures and props, right?
Anything. Anything you want. Just let me know and I'll make it.
Awesome. Well, dude, thanks so much for joining. This was really fun. And I feel like we barely scratched the surface of just the hilarity. So I'll have to have you back and we can tell, like, we got stories for days, man.
4 days. Just let me know when you want to do it again. We can hop on whatever your next free day is.
Right on. Cool. Well, if you got to roll, I'll let you get out of here and then I'll do the closeout on the show. So
awesome, bro.
Right on. Well, thanks so much, dude. All
I look forward to the next one.
Yep. All right. Catch you later.
Peace.
Peace. Oh, now I'll do this. There we go. So, yeah, well, thanks, guys, so much for this was the first time I recorded a live episode of Spewtron. And if you want to check me out on twitch.tv/Cig Neutron, I stream throughout the week art stuff. And then on Sundays, I do guided meditation streams and just discuss philosophy and life and stuff. Irreverentism, the philosophy that I'm starting, where it inspires individuality by embracing unity. I don't think he has a Twitch. I tried to get him on Twitch, but he's not into it. Or maybe he's into it. He just hasn't got set up for it yet. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, guys. And if you're listening to the podcast and you want to see the video live, just go to youtube.com/Rancig. And you can see our beautiful faces and all the smiles that took place. And I'll try to put some of those clips of the ridiculous footage that I have of us. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's about it. If you guys want to support our ridiculous endeavors, Randy and I, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Rancig. It gets you exclusive access to all kinds of ridiculous content. And I'm actually working on some docuseries shows that's going to be up pretty soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. And also check out my podcast, Spewtron, available anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, Podbean. Yeah, well, thank you guys so much. That was a lot of fun. And I'll catch you guys. I stream throughout the week from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/Cig Neutron. And Sundays, we do the guided meditation thing at noon Pacific time. So you guys are all awesome, and I wish you all the most radical of radical days. So have a great weekend. Oh, because it's a weekend. All right, party time. Excellent. All right, later, everyone.